Israel has launched another ground offensive against Gaza, and of course the world, as usual, is furious. After all, how dare a Jew defend himself, right? While this is not in itself unexpected, what is a little more surprising is the approach of some who have historically been on the side of Israel, such as Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan, for those who are yet unfamiliar, is an Irish-English journalist who hosts the show Piers Morgan Uncensored on YouTube. With over 3.9 million subscribers, Piers Morgan is among the most reputable and influential journalists in the world. Claiming to stand for common sense, Piers Morgan has consistently both sided with and been critical of the state of Israel in its war against Gaza. However, this took a turn this week. Have a listen.
This has gone way beyond a proportionate response, and that there are clearly people in the Netanyahu government, perhaps including him, who just want to just keep pounding away here because they don't really have any plan for what happens when they stop pounding.
As usual, Piers stands up and says what so many are thinking, that the sheer tragedy of what is happening in Gaza is causing him to change his mind. Seeing the terrible footage coming out of Gaza and not understanding where this war is going makes the whole thing seem like a terrible mistake. Then why does Piers believe that we are actually pursuing this war? Well, he goes on to explain.
In Netanyahu's case, he faces corruption trials when he comes out of this war, which is no incentive to end a war. Does Netanyahu have any incentive, because of all the legal issues he faces, to end this? Does he have control over his government? We know he did a dirty deal to get back into power with some real right-wing headbangers who clearly speak in genocidal language, suggesting their motivation is indeed a form of genocide.
In order to make his point, Piers brings up 2 points that are completely irrelevant to the topic. The first is Netanyahu's corruption charges. Piers makes the claim, and he would like you to believe, that the war is not ending because once it does, Netanyahu is charged with corruption and he's going to jail. Except that this is completely not based in fact. Netanyahu is currently in court being charged for corruption. The prosecution began to make their case on April 5th of 2021, while the defense began to argue their case on December 10th of 2024. The second case that Piers is making here is that Netanyahu is not ending the war because he has extremists in his government, whom he needs in order to have his coalition. But this as well is completely unfounded. On January 16th of this year, of 2025, opposition leader Yair Lapid made a public statement that said, Netanyahu, remove the extremists from your government, and I will come in. For those who don't know, Lapid swore never to enter a Netanyahu-led government. However, for the purpose of ending the war, he is willing to join Netanyahu and remove the extremists. So if the war does not serve Netanyahu, neither legally nor politically, then why is it we're still at war? Why are we sending the best of our sons and our daughters to go and fight a battle? Why is it that we're at funerals? Why is it that we're hearing terrible reports coming from Gaza? Why is this? What's going on?
But more importantly, there's no real evidence that Hamas has been neutralized at all. They're clearly still holding these hostages and Israel can't get them to release them, which suggests to me that Hamas's power base is still pretty much intact, or that process would have happened by now.
Yes, Piers, the hostages. Gaza is still holding 58. 58 Israeli hostages. Some are alive, some are dead. They're all precious to us. But to say that the war is not making any progress on that front, Piers, you like facts. Let's stick to them. On October 7th, 2023, Hamas brutally invaded Gaza, killed 1,200 of our people, and they took 251 hostages. 251 hostages back with them into Gaza. Towards the end of October 2023, we proceeded to invade Gaza, invade them with all of our force and all of our fire. And what that got us was a truce in November of 2023, 1 month later. A truce in which 105 of our hostages were released. A month and a half later, in December of 2023, we began an offensive yet again. Over the next year of military action, we were able to recover 8 live hostages and another 37 bodies. Then in December of 2024, we arrived at another truce with Hamas due to our military pressure. And what did they do for us in December of 2024? Guess what? They released more hostages. Another 33 of our brothers and sisters that they were holding. Today, there are 58 hostages remaining in Israel. Some are alive, some are dead. But what has worked before will work again. And that is why we pursue with the military action in Gaza.
But from where you sit, are you comfortable with what is now going on, with hundreds being killed every day, so many women, so many children in particular? Are you comfortable that there is a strategy here that is either working or is not just turning Israel slowly but surely into a global pariah?
No, Piers. No, I am never comfortable with the starving of any citizens, men, women, children, whatever they are. And I'm not comfortable with Israel being a global pariah, but let's be honest for a second. Israel has always been a pariah. We've been persecuted for being rich. We've been persecuted for being poor. We've been persecuted for living peacefully in the lands of others. And we're being persecuted now for living in our indigenous land. As a nation that has been time and time again on everybody's short list for persecution, abuse, genocide. All I can say to you, Piers, is the following. I will sooner be a global pariah for standing up and defending myself, defending my people, defending my family, than be a global pariah for standing down and being led like sheep to the slaughter, as so many of my ancestors have been throughout the millennia. I'm terribly pained and terribly distressed by the insane loss of life of both Gazans and Israelis. I've lost neighbors, I've lost friends, as have everybody I know. Yet we will continue to pursue this war until we can ensure the return of our hostages and the return of peace for us and the Arabs to live alongside each other forever, inshallah.